Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Breacher, and we are looking at the Mage for Legion. Blizzard has released their preview, so we're going to go balls deep and see what they're thinking with it. And this is going to be one of the easiest videos I ever have to make for Legion, I'm sure, as they are really happy with how the Mage plays in Worlds of Draenor. That's cool, man. If they're happy with it, and you're happy with it, why mess around with what's working? Let's just refine it a little bit, and that's the road they've taken. So a lot of the gameplay stuff is actually relatively unchanged. But as I said, they are refining some things, so we'll talk about them today. As always, this is missing out on the talent trees, because we haven't seen them yet, and the artifact stuff, because we haven't seen them yet. So bear in mind, a lot of depth and interesting gameplay might come from those sources, and as we've already seen, I did the Hunter preview earlier today, literally a couple of hours after the Hunter preview was announced, and it's already had changes. So to say it's subject to change is obviously going to happen, but this is the general idea that they are going for with the Mage. So without further ado, let us begin with Arcane. Mages of the Arcane are diviners of secrets, balancing the ebb and flow of incredible mystic energies. Unparalleled skill is required to manipulate the volatile forces of the universe. These practitioners push their magical knowledge to its very limits, often to the brink of their own exhaustion, and at great risk to the world around them. Those who master this craft are capable of releasing a barrage of unrelenting power upon their enemies, drawing upon replenishing energies to maintain their assault for as long as the battle demands. Very, 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 very powerful words there, Blizzard. Very powerful words for what is typically considered to be one of the newbie specs in the game, but still, I'll give you a thumbs up for the effort. Thumbs up for the effort. I've never seen an Arcane Mage tear the world apart, but to know it might happen, that's alright. That's alright. So what are they changing with the Arcane Mage? Arcane Blast no longer needs an add-on really to track. It's not a debuff. They're going to just move it into the actual resource system under your mana bar. Arcane Mage, Legion. Thanks for coming, guys. See you later. No, seriously, that's the big change. That is generally what's going to happen. The other kind of changes are they're going to change Mastery, so it increases your mana regen and your maximum mana. So the more Mastery you stack, the bigger your mana bar will get, which means the cut-off points where you start dealing less damage will also increase, which means you can spam more. Yay! They're also giving you a talent called Displacement, a 1.5 minute cooldown, which means for the next 4 seconds you can just blink without triggering its cooldown. The talent they're showing off for this is Quickening. You've probably heard of that before, but this time Arcane Blast and Arcane Missiles will grant 2% haste for 6 seconds. That stacks up, and the effect is cleared when you cast Arcane Barrage. My god, what that's going to be like when you get lucky procs on your missiles. Holy crapola. Holy crapola. That's going to be pretty goddamn funny. So, as there is so little to actually explain about the gameplay, because it's pretty much unchanged, I have managed to acquire some footage of what the Arcane Mage will look like in Legion. Enjoy. Onto Fire, the big burner, that spec that always causes trouble. When the initial Legendary Ring was released, before it got modified, it wasn't, oh my god, all these specs are going to be overpowered, it was, oh my god, Fire Mages, right? This one spec just is capable of causing so many issues, because if the stars align, a Fire Mage is capable of just absurd things, unnatural things, naughty things. So they've decided to refine that down as well. So let's read our new blurb for our Fire Mage. While any worthy mage is an unparalleled expert in the use of magic and heavily dedicated to their craft, those who master the forces of fire tend to be little more audacious than their peers. If a threat stands before them, the answer is always to neutralize it in a glorious blaze. A lifetime dedicated to the study of fiery forces only fuels their pyromania, and these mages take pride, even pleasure, in igniting their enemies in wild bursts of flame. Mistake their affinity for watching things burn as a lack of self-control at your own peril. I think that actually perfectly sums up the Fire Mage, if I'm being honest. I want to burn the fucking world when I play my Fire Mage. That's what I want to do. I want to set everything on fire and watch it come crashing down as it all turns into ash. So I like that blurb. That blurb is up my street. So what are they doing to it? Well, they weren't happy with the way Hotstreak was being abused. I actually thought it wasn't difficult gameplay, but it was nice when it all worked together, which was that you could get the Pyroblast proc, but then you would fish. instead of firing off Pyroblast once you had the big hot streak, you would actually fish to get the weaker hot streak, or heating up, as it was called, so then you could fire a Fireball and a Pyroblast, so they hit the target at the same time, and gave you double the chance to go straight into another Pyroblast. They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all. So they've got rid of that. You can no longer do that at all. You will just be heating up towards a Pyro, and you will not be able to start heating up again until you fire off that Pyro. In order to ease the pressure there of trying to chain Pyros together, they have changed Inferno Blast, okay? So it still has 2 charges with a 12-second recharge, but it's no longer on the global cooldown. You can actually cast it while casting other spells. So when you get that proc and you're already mid-cast of another spell, because what tends to happen with fire, which is why we went to this sort of stacking the heating ups, is you would cast a Fireball, but because of the way the game works, you would already be half casting your next Fireball when that other Fireball hit. And those are the times you're like, oh shit, I should Infernal Blast there and try to squeeze one in. So what they're saying now is you can just cast Infernal Blast. If you see heating up appear, you can cast Infernal Blast like mid-Fireball and get the definite proc on Pyroblast, which is cool. So to that end, they're going to change how Ignite works. So what they say is Infernal Blast was trying to do 2 jobs. One, guarantee a crit so you could get your Pyros, and also spread Ignite. And they've just taken that away now. Ignite will just naturally spread. They're just baking it in. When you ignite something, it's just going to spread around. What that means for various moments in the PvE world, especially at the controlled end, I don't know. So I imagine it'll avoid things that are CC'd, hopefully. You know, it'll do things like that, but they're just generally building in. That's pretty good. In terms of combustion, as I said, there is capability, and we've seen it multiple times, that if a mage gets a really good combustion, it's just absurd amounts of damage. And if you get it wrong, more importantly, you do fuck all damage. There's nothing worse than playing a low-geared or low-crit fire mage, because you just never get a good combustion. It's really sad times. They've gone back to basically vanilla. Wow. They've gone back to essentially what combustion was in vanilla. It's close. It's not quite what it was, but it's close. Now, when you cast Combustion, you'll cast it at a target, and you become set ablaze. Hopefully, it's much cooler than Destruction Warlocks, and it increases your crit strike chance by 100% for 10 seconds. Also grants you mastery equal to your critical strike stats, and your mastery is obviously your Ignite. So you'll guarantee to crit against that target for 10 seconds. One has to wonder, as a little side note here, because obviously gameplay is pretty much unchanged again for the Fire Mage. One has to wonder, does this devalue crit for the Mage? Interesting mathematics to be done there, I think. I think it's not as plain as it might seem. On the face of it, you'll still want crit for all the stuff in between combustion, but if you're going to be stacking all your big cooldowns for those combustions, which is what good players tend to do, will that devalue crit? Because it's 100%. At that point, all your critical strike is wasted, although it will turn into mastery. So it'll be interesting to see whether people go for haste there to try and fit in more fireballs, or pyroblasts, I should say, more pyroblasts into there. It'll be curious to see what happens there. I'm actually genuinely interested. More than likely, because your mastery is equal to your crit stat and all that kind of stuff, it'll just be crit anyway. But I'll be interested to see if there's any little mastery. It's a nerdy thing, I know. Super nerdy, but there you go. The talent they give us is Cinder Storm. Storm, it does not sound like. It's got an 8-second cooldown and a 1.5-second cast where you throw a spread of 6 cinders that travel in an arc and each deal minor fire damage to enemies they hit. Alright. It kind of sounds like one of them not-so-great magicians who just, like, burn paper. You know, the burnable paper that you can sort of ignite out of your hands. It looks like a really sort of lame fireball. It kind of sounds like that. Let me know down below if it sounds like that to you. I'd be curious about that. But gameplay, relatively unchanged for the Fire Mage, which is cool. Just more quality of life improvements. Some people will say, I'm almost guaranteeing people will say, oh, but I can prepare a great combustion every single time. So this makes it more noob-friendly. I mean, yes. You're not going to get those magical... I mean, you might do. You might get those magical points in the sky, but at least you're not going to be screwed by a combustion. The amount of times I've seen Fire Mages say, yeah, fucked my combustion up, and like they just disappear off the damage meters, more than I'd like to count. So, we'll see. It works both ways. There's certainly people who are going to be sad at the combustion change, and others who will just be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. On to Frost, then! Frost mages stand apart from their colleagues in that their chosen school of magic focuses on maintaining supreme control over the capabilities of their enemies. Mages who command Frost perform chilling displays on the battlefield, rendering foes immobile as they bombard them with ice. Often, the blade never reaches the caster before the bitter cold has taken hold. The Frost Mage exudes frigid power as icicles form around them, foreshadowing the wintry demise of those who stand opposed in the field of battle. Yep, crowd control all day. Frost Mage, crowd control all day. That's what's going on there. Only one real big gameplay change here is that Frost Firebolt has been removed. I kind of get it. I mean, I liked the turret style of Frost Firebolt. When you were firing it, you could do the max pain dive off to the side and all that kind of stuff. And procs for days with the Frost Mage is always good fun. So Frost Firebolt is going to go away, as it was kind of a weak source, different reskin version of Pyroblast, I guess, without all the cool effects. So it's understandable. But what they've replaced it with, though, is totally hype. It's hype as fuck. Now your Frozen Orb will proc. And you get an extra Frozen Orb. So Frozen Orb's like 1 minute cooldown. Now it has a chance to just... it'll just proc like your Frost Firebolt procs. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Anybody who's played even a reasonably geared Frost Mage, when the Frozen Orb goes in, oh, man. That's fucking juicy. You just become the super machine gun. And the fact that's going to happen more often, and I can do my A and D shimmy on the keyboard as I tunnel in with the Ice Lances... I'm alright with it. If you're going to replace Frost Firebolt with anything, Frozen Orb will do for me, Blizz, any fucking day. Because Frozen Orb, when it goes off, is all good fun. All good fun in my mind. I am fine with that. Absolutely fine. But then, finally, let's talk about this talent, Glacial Spike. Alright? 1% mana. It conjures a huge spike of ice, and it uses your icicles and impales your target, dealing huge damage, plus the damage stored in your icicles, and it requires 5 icicles to cast. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Ice Lance will no longer cast off icicles, okay? When you get 5, alright, you can set off this huge spike of ice. This is what I've been asking for ages with mages. It's just totally over the top silly spells, and a huge Glacial Spike is right up the street. Just a giant big block of ice falling on someone's head and stabbing them in the face. That's so cool. It is so cool, and I hope it's enormous. Like, stupidly enormous. Like, I have so much hype about this spell. I hope it doesn't turn into like a little pissant little ice shard that falls out of the sky and you barely see it. I want to see people to see something like the top of a huge ice cavern cracking and this giant icicle falling down. Just because it's comedy. Absolutely comedy. But we'll see what happens with that. I wish they, if I was to comment on anything, I wish you could choose when to cast it. So it gave you something to track in terms of the icicles. But whatever. It waits till you got 5 and then you can cast a Glacial Spike. I'm not going to argue. That spell sounds cool as fuck. Mages sound cool as fuck. More than happy with it. Enjoy. I'm going to have a blast with my mage. I mean, this even makes me consider playing a mage next expansion, because it just sounds like every single spec. I mean, Arcane's going to be Arcane, but every single spec's going to have its really fun moments, and probably more regularly now as well, so I'm happy with that. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you again for the next preview. Bye-bye.